Hello and welcome to Ensuring Success 2018. If you're just joining us, we're so glad you joined us. If you've been here all day, we're thrilled that you're enduring this with us. So this is Ensuring Success, and we are coming to you from AMS Pictures in Dallas, Texas. I'm Gail Perry, Editor-in-Chief of CPA Practice Review magazine. And I'd like to thank our sponsors real quickly before we get started. So our sponsors are Receipt Bank, Sage, Xero, Avalara, Boomer Consulting, Canopy, CPA.com, eFileForBiz.com, Intuit ProConnect, and Peisner Johnson. And we would not be here without the help and support of our sponsors, so we're thrilled that they are a part of this event. For those of you just joining us, I'd like to explain briefly how CPE works for this session, for the event itself. During this session, we will present 3 CPE codes at the bottom of your screen. It is your responsibility to write down those codes. We'll talk about them. I'll give them a shout out so you'll know they're on the screen and give you a chance to write them down. Then at the end of the day, when you've seen all of the sessions you want to see, you'll go to the Get Your CE/CPE Credit tab at the top of your screen. And when you click on that, it'll open another screen with a list of all the sessions, and you can enter the codes for each session you've attended, and then there'll be an ability to download your CPE certificate right then and there. So also, I'd like to tell you how you can reach us. During this session, throughout the day, we are online at Twitter with hashtag DecemberCPE. We're on Facebook on the CPA Practice Advisor Facebook page. And you can also reach us by email, particularly if you have any tech issues or sound issues or anything like that. Be sure to reach us by email at info@ensuringsuccess.com. And finally, for those of you who would like to participate in live polling, we have the opportunity to ask you some questions through the site Slido.com. So we would appreciate if you do that. Use a different device than the one you're watching us on so that you can not turn away from our session while you're answering our polling questions. But that's Slido.com, Slido.com, and then they'll ask you for a code, and it's December CPE, and that's where you can answer some polling questions for this session. So right now I'm going to introduce our speakers, let them tell you a little bit about themselves, and then we'll get into this session on gadgets and gifts. So next to me is Jim Burke, next to Jim is David Cieslak, and let's hear a little bit about you guys.
All right, Gail, thanks for inviting me today to participate in your Insurance Success 2018. So I'm a partner at Witham Smith & Brown. I'm Managing Director of Advisory Services, and I oversee all firm technology. Dave?
Yeah, so my name's David Cieslak. I'm the Executive Vice President and Chief Cloud Officer with RKL eSolutions. So my job is to help our clients identify the right cloud solutions in their portfolio and get that implemented for them.
All right, so during the day today, we're going to talk about a variety of different new tech innovations that you should be aware of, whether it's for your office or for your home or for the favorite person you want to share them with. We have them divided into a variety of different categories, and we're going to start off with new innovations in the areas of laptops and tablets.
Yeah, so we pulled together a nice little collection. Jim and I have worked and said, okay, what was kind of some of the best and brightest of 2018? And so we wanted to start with laptops and tablets and kind of give you an idea of not only where they're at, but where they're going as well. So we're going to start actually with the Surface Pro, the Microsoft product. One of the reasons we like to talk about this is not necessarily because it's the best and the brightest, but really it helped kind of set a new tone for a lot of the devices that all of us are starting to put our hands on today. Specifically, you know, the device, it's a convertible, meaning it's got basically a slate that'll separate from the keyboard. We'll use a stylus. And Microsoft, for their part, didn't used to be a hardware company, but with the advent of Windows 8 and then ultimately into Windows 10, they said we need to be a lot more proactive about, you know, kind of the future of the operating system, and we're going to need the right hardware to do that. And so in the case of the Surface Pro, they really kind of went with a blank sheet of paper, said let's come up with something innovative, and we're seeing a lot of these design ideas across across a lot of the other 2-in-1s convertibles that are in the market today.
You know what I really love about, David, about the Surface Pro is you really start with the Surface devices. Finally, we have a device that we could use in our profession. When you think about, one of the downsides about our profession, you look at the technology. It's all around Microsoft, right? Or around Microsoft's suite of products. And so we have to use Windows-based machines. How many firms today are using Apples, using Macs within their practice? Because it's being driven by the vendors in our space, right? The Surface Pro 6, what an ideal piece of equipment to use. Easy, portable, super light, whip off the keyboard, being able to take it out to clients, external mice. What an awesome device to use.
Yeah, great innovation.
It's one of the few devices that we can actually do everything that we need to do in our firm off of that device.
Yep.
Same can't be said about some of the other devices that we're going to talk about because of the operating systems that they're pretty much locked into. What a great device.
Yeah, no, we really like that. So the next one I wanted to mention and kind of think out loud a bit, because this is a new term we heard in 2018. It's called the Always Connected PC. And specifically, it's the same idea. It's a slate with a keyboard, but in this case, it's something that has LTE communications built in, and it's using a different chip. It's using the Snapdragon chip. And because of that, we've got something that's potentially up to 20 hours of battery life with instant connectivity to the internet at all times. Now, this one happens to come with Windows 10 S, which stands for Store. So that's not the full-blown Windows operating system, but it can be upgraded to Windows Pro. And so really, something that we're going to probably hear more about in 2019 and going forward. We're really kind of excited to see if this trend, catches fire.
And define LTE, please.
LTE, that's the communication, 4G communication protocol.
The platform, right. So like all the other Lenovo pieces of equipment, utilized throughout the profession, utilized in all our firms, and it's the lightest and most efficient of all the pieces of equipment from Lenovo.
So again, it'll be interesting to watch. There's a number of vendors saying, hey, we want in on this too. So we're going to see what happens there. The next, or the other device I want to talk about really in this space is, and I really kind of want to talk about it on both sides of the argument here, is the brand new Apple iPad Pro lineup. And so it's in 2 different sizes, so 11 and the 12.9 inch size. But really, as we look at this unit, Apple, for their part, is really continuing to push and press and say this could be a laptop or desktop replacement. And I'll be the first to tell you it's not. And it's not that it's not a wonderful piece of hardware. It's absolutely magnificent. They've done a great job with the faster processor, the very, very readable screen, support for the stylus now. They've actually gotten rid of the home button, so it's doing the Face ID on that. But it's still going to be a tablet at the end of the day because of iOS. So the operating system really just isn't meant to run desktop applications. So if you're hearing a lot of messaging from Apple saying this could be your next desktop replacement, we're not thinking that's the case.
So agreed. I don't think it's the next desktop replacement. But you know what's happening with all the vendors that have entered our space? They're creating their applications that are device agnostic and browser agnostic. It's a perfect application for that. I'm looking at workflow tools. I'm looking at new practice management tools coming out that are web-based. I'm looking at expense solutions. All of those solutions you can utilize these types of devices, especially the Apple iPad Pro.
Yeah, and that's a good way to actually put it. So what we're finding is that if many of your applications are now migrating to the cloud, in other words, running from a tab in a browser, then a device like this could very well do the job. But if you still need to install a native Windows piece of software, this is not going to be the platform.
We're not there yet, but we're on our way there, right? We're getting close. I mean, that pace is moving so quickly today. Yeah. So I think migration towards devices that look more like this will be right around the corner.
It's going to be fun to watch. All right, so the next we're going to take a look at is
what is that? That's a phone.
I was going to say modern phones. We're going to take a look at some of the latest offerings on phones, and really this one's almost like a 2-horse race is what we're kind of learning here. So really, in the United States, Apple is the most popular phone and the most popular platform, and their latest offering in this area is the XS and the XS Max, and that's what Jim is showing here.
That's right.
He's in charge of visual aids. He's my Carol Merrill today.
Oh, thank you, dude.
Behind curtain number 2. So really very beautiful, readable, large screens, either in the XS or the XS Max. And really, it's actually not any different in size than like the 7 Plus, but it's all display. So it's edge to edge now. It's OLED, so it's very easy to, so very easy
Gail
to.
slides hers right on top of mine, so you can see it's slightly bigger. But you're missing one very important factor. What's the megapixels on the camera?
Yeah,
it's 12 megapixels on a camera, so it makes for great selfies, right, Dave?
And just looking at your Facebook, selfies I know are very prevalent thing.
Thank you, David.
So, yeah. So great camera, Face ID, still no home button, faster processor, really easy on the eyes, especially if you're looking for something that's more readable, easier to use. We really think this is just a fabulous upgrade. But that being said, it's expensive.
Right.
It's really expensive.
Just going to say that. So what's the real push, right? What's the real push on going from my older versions of the iPhones to the XS or XS Plus?
And that's been a challenge for Apple. And honestly, they are, it's in the news every day right now that they're really struggling. They were hoping that the XS Max, and maybe even the XR thrown in there would create that super upgrade cycle. In other words, large, numbers of users would want to migrate. It's not happening. So, so what we're thinking is we're going to see some pricing coming down because at $999 for the entry point, all the way on up to $1,350, it's like, holy cow! It is not for the faint of heart. It's more than we're spending on our laptops in some cases. But then I go back and I think, how many hours a day do all of us spend, tethered to our smart mobile devices? So is that an outrageous number to pay? I'll let you make the call. But
well, it is. I think it is when you think back at how much they originally were.
Yes.
And most of us were getting these guys for almost no cost from our telephone providers, and that whole model has changed, right? So now everyone is all in buying these.
Well, I will have to tell you, my cab driver coming over here today was all excited to share with me his latest phone technology. It was a Motorola flip phone, and he says, "That's all I need." And I said, you could be the start of a renaissance. We may be going back. So
he may be a cab driver, but he would never be an Uber driver.
I was thinking the same thing.
Thank you very much. So not with that he wouldn't. So that's Apple, and again, #1 in the U.S. Next up, we're going to talk about really the other operating system. And I say the other operating system, but that's not meant to diminish it because it's actually the #1 smart mobile operating system in the world, and that's Android. And the #1 manufacturer of Android devices in the world is Samsung. So it's really kind of a two-horse race for most folks. It's not to say there aren't other Android phone manufacturers, but by and large, many people, have their eye on the Samsung Galaxy lineup and said, this is absolutely the device for us. And so same idea here, OLED, and actually they brought it to market before Apple did. So in some respects, Apple's playing catch up with their products in terms of OLED and some of the more advanced technology. Not a place we're used to seeing Apple in kind of that underdog position, but Samsung continues to push the envelope very, very nicely with their product lineup. USB-C for a connector, also very, very helpful, very, very important. Wireless charging for that device. So a lot of the stuff we're just now seeing Apple come out with, Samsung has actually had for several versions. So the S9, the S9 Plus, the larger display on that, and a little bit more reasonable price point. So, and it's interesting because you start to think about then why would I go one versus the other? And really what much of it comes down to is the devices are just that. They're devices. What you're really kind of buying into is the ecosystem. And so if you think about the platform, the iOS store versus the Android store and the apps that you're going to download, and really kind of what are you subscribing to? What are you buying into? What's the ecosystem in support of the devices you're using? And so I would tell you, Android, you're not losing anything. In fact, it's incredibly competitive.
Oh, it is. But you know what, David? You have to go to London. You have to go to Sydney. You have to go to these other countries to really see the prevalent use of those devices. That's exactly it. When I travel overseas visiting firms in London, I'm in the minority carrying my iPhone, right?
Yep.
You see, it's all Samsung, it's all Android-based operating systems, no matter where you go. So we're a little bit lagging behind. We're still on the iPhones, but that's what we see.
I wouldn't call you a lagger. I would
That's
just say
true. That's true.
Maybe we're typical Americans, and at least we still love our iOS.
That's
so
it.
that we know.
Okay, we're going to stop right here and put our first CPE code on the screen. So check the bottom of the screen. There should be a 3-digit code there. You'll want to write this down. That's the first of 3 sets of numbers that you're going to get in order to claim CPE credit for this session. And also slip over on your phone, whether it's Android or iPhone, to slido.com, slido.com. Entry password is December CPE, and you can answer our first polling question, which is, what is your favorite gadget of 2018? Okay.
Beautiful. You guys ready to move on to some essential
accessories?
We can move on to essential accessories.
All right. So what we're going to do is we're just going to talk just about 1 or 2 things here. And some of these might seem a little nutty almost. But really, as we think about what does your kind of primary workspace look like, and one of the trends we've seen previously is a multi-display setup. And
2, 3, 4.
Exactly. Sometimes it's can go to 6 or whatever. And what we're finding though is the vendors are very attuned to that, very aware of that, and now creating products that are saying, look, we'll give you kind of that big, broad view, that multi-display view in a single display. Maybe even put some other technology in there, depending on the manufacturer. We could have speakers and cameras and USB ports and so forth. But really, at the end of the day, it's really saying you don't need multiple displays. Well, we got you covered with one nice, single, large, wide, curved display, and it'll actually be the equivalent of multiple monitors.
I've got a question about that, though. I remember when our computer monitors used to be pretty little, and then we went to bigger ones, kind of widescreen. And the original thought was, well, now I can fit 2 screens on one, and you'd have multiple windows. But instead, we just got multiple monitors. And so I've got 3 monitors sitting on my desk, and it's just one program on each one that I can see. Is that what's going to happen with this? Is that I'm just going to end up with one program spread across my desk, or will I break up that screen?
Well, if you have the Mondo spreadsheet, and you need all those columns,
this screen's for you.
This is good news.
Absolutely.
This is absolutely good news for you. But really, the reality is that with the latest Windows operating system, it supports something called Snap, and so you'll be able to snap either side to side or even snap in the 4 corners. And so much of what you're doing with the individual monitors now, you can absolutely easily replicate with a single large monitor like this. And at $1,000, you look at that and go, ooh, that feels a little expensive, but we don't have to have this on the same upgrade cycle as the rest of the supporting computer system. So interestingly enough, the laptops, what we're plugging into this is becoming pretty replaceable and pretty affordable. And we're finding that this technology is going to stick around a little bit longer, survive several upgrade cycles.
Well, you know what I'm thinking, David? I'm looking at this Samsung 49-inch. I could see 2 Samsung 49 inches, but then you're talking $2,000.
You may need to redesign your office.
Could
too,
wrap it
by the way.
around the desk, the entire desk. That looks pretty good.
360.
360. Gail, that's even better, right?
Jim in his cockpit.
That would be nice. That would be really nice.
That would be a spreadsheet. All right, so that's a little bit of just display technology. Some of just the other behind-the-scenes stuff. We'll touch on this, pretty briefly. But if you haven't heard of something called Wi-Fi mesh, especially for like home use, absolutely a product you're going to want to look at. There's a number of vendors that are creating mesh products out there. Netgear, the Orbi product, one of the editor choice winners from PC Magazine. There's several others out there as well. But really, what we find is it eliminates those dead zones, and especially at the edges of a network, rather than dropping speed or losing connectivity altogether. You're going to get end-to-end high-speed connectivity with mesh networking, because it does back-channel communication between the units, and so all throughout you're going to have full-speed communication with mesh networking. So some people say, hey, I'm moving into a new house. Should I, what kind of cabling should I do? I'm saying, I think you just need to be doing mesh networking.
It's a great way to go, because you think about how we would do it in the past. We would use a lot of the devices that are plug devices, plugging in, utilizing the copper wiring in the house. I mean, that was one of the few ways to get all to the extremes, from the basement to the 3rd floor, whatever it may be. This type of mesh technology, literally linking, reaching out to those far points in the home, definitely the way to go.
Yeah,
definitely the way to go.
It's just been, pure joy. I know in my house, when we implemented mesh, everybody said, oh my gosh, the internet finally works throughout the entire house. That's pretty cool. But talk about a little bit behind the scenes too. I know a lot of people are talking about cutting the cord. In other words, what can we do to reduce our cable bill? And that really maybe has more to do with, do you have telephone packaged in, or what does your internet feed look like, or what channels do you subscribe to? But one of the pieces of hardware that many people are still paying a monthly rental fee for is the cable modem. Why? Because the broadband provider just, in effect gives it to you, but actually they're charging you for it, 10, 12 bucks a month kind of thing. And you're welcome to replace that with a piece that you own. And so these devices are $70, $80, $90, fully supporting, high speed, and no reason at all why you need to continue to pay the cable company for a cable modem. That should be something you can do on your own.
Absolutely. Go to Best Buy, go to a local, pick up, go online, go to Amazon, just pick it up. That is the way to go. Literally, my son just got is renting a place in New York City. He's close to the office, and cable company came in and they just took it for granted that here's our modem. I'm like, Brand, you don't need to rent a modem. You go out and buy the modem. Get it up front and buy the modem.
This is one of those really simple ones to do. Knock a little bit off your monthly cable bill.
All right. Let's stop here and we'll take a quick break. We're going to have a quick commercial break, and then when we come back, we'll show our second CPE code for this session. So we'll be right back.
One of the hardest challenges as a business owner is time management and wearing many hats. Back in 2008, I was short of help. I was doing the bookkeeping, customer service, being the tech, so on and so forth, and I could not handle it all. My name is Corey Nguyen. I'm the owner of Moran Auto Center. I was 2 years behind on my books, but when I hired Kim and utilized QuickBooks and Receipt Bank, that's when my business started turning around.
He just had paperwork everywhere. I mean, it was just stacks and stacks of paperwork. Now, Corey takes the photo through Receipt Bank. It automatically goes to Receipt Bank, it reads it, it presents it. All I do is just review it, hit send, and it's in QuickBooks.
Receipt Bank and QuickBooks have saved me an enormous amount of time. I use that time to educate my customer, to build a trust or a bond with them in order to make my business more successful. In the past couple of months, I've been able to hire more guys because of the money I saved. Now that we're using QuickBooks Online and Receipt Bank, I'm able to spend time with my customers as needed, and I'm able to spend more time with my family. When I come here every morning now, I'm ready to take on the day because I don't have to worry about the clutter of paperwork that sits on my desk all the time.
Hello, we're back. And on the bottom of your screen, you should see the second CPE code for this session. You'll want to be sure to write that down, keep it with the first code, and there'll be one more to come before the end of the session. And now we're going to get back to more talk about gadgets and gifts, and we're going to get into a category called the Internet of Things.
Yeah, so the Internet of Things is a really
my favorite.
Yeah, it's an exciting category, and what's so neat about it is it's really it used to be just a handful of years ago you'd have to make a decision regarding Zigbee or Z-Wave or some underlying protocol. You'd have to say I'm all in on this protocol and that's how I'll do home automation. But instead what's happened is you've had these things called smart speakers that have come along, and they say, I'll talk to all of those. And so really has made it kind of platform agnostic, and as well as giving us a voice-activated ability to interact with those different smart devices in our home. And so what we're finding is that, literally household by household, they're going to pick something and say, whether it's a doorbell or a thermostat or whatever that is, they're going to pick, a device and say, that'll be step one, then step two, and pretty soon more and more home automation is happening, and we have the smart speakers to thank for it. And so in terms of smart speakers in general, there's a number of different smart speaker makers out there, as it were, but really it's Amazon with their Alexa lineup that has just kind of taken the whole sector by storm. And I don't know if I can name all the members there, the Echo, the Dot and the Spot and the Show and the
That's pretty good.
But so as you're looking at these devices, and the idea is it could be in one room, multiple rooms, kitchen, in the bathroom, when you're getting ready for work in the morning, so throughout the house. And just the utility of these devices continues to increase so dramatically. It's absolutely wonderful what they've done, and they've got skills that you can, essentially attach to these devices. And in the case of the Alexa, I want to say it's over 15,000 today, pushing on up to 20,000. And so it's just very rich. And think about what I said just a little bit ago about an ecosystem. That's what Amazon's done with the Alexa lineup, created an ecosystem, not just within the Amazon world, but saying we want to connect to all these other products as well and give you that voice activation for a number of different home automated devices.
And go ahead.
Just as some quick examples of why we need this in our homes.
Quick example.
Why not, Gail?
Well,
come on.
I think it's one of those things where as soon as you start, doing some of those skills that we talked about, so setting a timer in the kitchen or a wake-up timer for the morning time, or, it could be playing music, it could be turning lights on and off, it could be changing the thermos. And pretty soon, it's not uncommon. I'll walk into the kitchen, my hands are full, and I'll say, Alexa, turn on the kitchen, kind of thing. And so, or you can set different schemes and say, Alexa, nighttime, and all the devices move into nighttime mode. So really, I think the more you work with it, the more you start to really appreciate that this is just putting automation behind a bunch of manual flipping of switches.
Yeah, think about it. It's things that you want to know. It's like Thanksgiving, right? Alexa, let me know in 4 hours if my turkey's done. Alexa, let me know if my flight's delayed today. All those types of things that you're asking a machine to do. Why should you have to go and look at that when it could be done via a machine? And it's cool, the technologies that are connecting these devices. I look at my Bose headphones, right, QC35s. When you take a look at Alexa, but also look at Google Assist. Google Assist, the technology here built into the headphones, communicating with my device. It's awesome being able to interact between the multiple devices.
I have to say, my favorite skill is still, Alexa, ask Starbucks to get my morning order ready. That is still my favorite. Well, but a few products in the Amazon Echo lineup I wanted to call out specifically because they made a bunch of big announcements this year. The Spot actually does go back to the end of last year, but I did purchase it this year. Love this little device. It does have a video display, speaker, microphone, camera. If you use this as a replacement for your clock radio on your nightstand, just maybe a little piece of black electrical tape might be in order over the camera if you're just
You're paranoid, David.
If you're, well, just saying, it might be something you might want to consider. But really, just it wakes you up in a wonderful manner. The alarms on this thing are fabulous. Temperature outside and so forth. Get you started on your morning routine. Pretty affordable, but like I said, they really are trying to be almost omnipresent within the house. So we like that device. But they had some other things, and some of them were a little wild. They came out with a microwave. You're just going, what? An Amazon Echo microwave? But really what they're doing is they've got modules now that they're starting to make available to a number of OEM manufacturers and saying you can put these in your different devices and instantly make it Amazon Alexa capable. But if you're looking to really kind of continue to just enjoy the Amazon Echo product natively, like the subwoofer that's coming from them. So this was just announced recently, so you can add some bottom end to your listening experience, and you can actually pair it with multiple speakers and really make for a really rich playback experience. Think of this as competing with Sonos and some of the other manufacturers out there who really, were meant to be high fidelity in the audio space. Amazon said, we can do that too. And this is part of that puzzle.
What do you think about, Sonos as well, falling into that whole IoT world, bringing together all the music, sound technologies right to your home through IoT?
Yeah. So let's go ahead and roll on and just talk about some of the other things you might, and I'm sharing some of these from me personally, by the way. So this year at CES, I talked to a number of different smart switch manufacturers. Now, in the past, we've talked about smart light bulbs. And communicating directly from your smart speaker or your mobile device to the light bulb. And I'm thinking, but what if I just want to turn the light on and off the old-fashioned way? Is there a way we can kind of get the best of both worlds? And so a number of providers were showing off smart switches that do just that. They behave as regular switches. You can say turn it on, turn it off, and do the fader up and down, or match it, pair it with your Amazon Alexa and say, Alexa, kitchen on, Alexa, family room off, that kind of thing. And so control the lights with something that really acts in kind of in a dual fashion. So we really liked Lutron Casita. They actually have a little intro kit. And that's what's showing here on the slide, and it's kind of all the pieces you're going to need to get started, and then you can kind of grow it from there. So we thought that was pretty cool. Almost no conversation can be had regarding home automation without Ring.
My favorite.
Yes.
Ring.
So he's been watching.
I've been watching home for the last few minutes, so that's live shot right from New Jersey right now as we're streaming this live.
Between the notifications that you get that, hey, there was motion outside of a camera, I mean, they got their start with the doorbell. And actually, interestingly enough, I met the creator of the product working in his garage, and the doorbell wasn't what he was working on. Instead, that was something he kind of cobbled together and put off to the side so he knew if anyone was coming to the front door as he's working away in the garage, he wanted a notification. One day his wife comes out and goes, I think that's the better product. And so that's where Ring got started, ultimately winds up on Shark Tank, got purchased this last year by Amazon. So Amazon now owns Ring, paid a cool $1 billion for it. So they did okay in their kind of life cycle, but got great products in their lineup now, in addition to the doorbell, cameras with, floodlights and so forth, and really trying to say, let me take a more holistic home security approach. And that's the way a lot of the vendors are working. And Ring is just doing a fabulous job.
And think about integrating all those separate components of the home today, right? And also looking at, where can you get Ring? You can go to big box stores today, walk in, not only are you buying your chicken, you're buying your bread, you're buying your milk, and you're picking up a Ring device. It's so simple today,
My
right?
wife keeps taking it right back out of the basket, though. Yeah. No,
That's what I pick up when I go
absolutely.
food shopping. I'm picking up devices like this.
And so when we were on break, Gail just shared a photo and said, oh, this just got installed in our house today, right?
My
Yes.
husband just sent me a message saying there's a nest in our nest.
There's a nest in our nest. I love
That's
the play on that. But, again, one of the early, kind of entrance into the marketplace and home automation, helping you to kind of better manage your heating and AC. But one of the things I wanted to kind of mention here is that a lot of municipalities now, local water and power companies, are having specials on these. And so in the case of, I live in Southern California, and my wife was perusing the website and said, do you know, we can ask the Department of Water and Power to come out to our house, do kind of a walkthrough of everything and look at our heating and air conditioning and give us recommendations. And by the way, they'll give us a free nest. I go, a free nest? Are you kidding me?
Do it.
So free nest, and I said, but we need 2. She goes, they'll give us 2. And I said, sign. So sure enough, I had the same experience. Came home one day, 2 new Nest units, hooked it into my Amazon Alexa as well as my phone, and I'm thinking, this is fabulous. So
Yeah, our power company gives a discount for using a Nest.
yeah, so we're seeing more and more of that. So if you haven't gone down that road, a lot of, especially anything that's going to help you on the energy conservation, water, power, gas, a lot of them are getting into the fold, encouraging households to look at this technology, implement this technology. We all benefit from that, so that's a big deal. Along those same lines, this is another one. Our water company says, hey, would you install a smart sprinkler timer / solution? And so what this will do is got 2 different units in terms of the number of stations, but it'll actually keep track of the forecast outside. If rain is coming, it'll automatically turn it off. You can actually install separate hydrometers into the ground, so it'll sense the ground moisture, the retained moisture in the ground. And so same idea. These units were free. So
and one of the best, absolutely the best devices with AI built into that technology, doing predictive analytics, looking at weather, looking at predicting rain. If rain is predicted, lower the amount of water that's actually being done. It's absolutely great.
It's fabulous,
Absolutely
and
great.
again, it's free in many situations. We got $200 a unit. We bought 2 units, and so I literally at some point I'm asking my wife over dinner the other night, "What else you got? Come on, keep bringing it on here. You just keep showing up with all this great technology." My wife's really helping kind of push the envelope on that, so that's pretty cool. All right, you guys ready to switch to audiovisual?
Yeah, let's do it.
do that.
All right, so just a few items here, thinking about just some great AV, and specifically, we've been talking for the last few years about virtual reality, augmented reality, and you've seen all the goofy pictures of people with the goggles on and bumping around and so forth. I would tell you, in the case of virtual reality, one of the things that's really kind of held us back from any kind of notable adoption is that you need a lot of horsepower to push that the signal that you're looking at in the display screen, and so it was a tethered experience. You had to stay connected to a laptop or to a desktop computer that had a good, strong video card. In the case of the Lenovo Mirage, they said no more. You don't need that anymore. So now you can use this particular unit, and it's got what 3 hours of battery life, and you don't need to be hooked up to any computer desktop anymore.
What's the business use of this?
I'll tell you what the business use of it is. So at Witham, we shoot a lot of videos. Could you imagine with the Lenovo Mirage, I mean, full 360 views of the videos, what's going on in the front, the side, the back? It's awesome being able to project the light. I mean, that's just from one perspective, how to watch our videos.
I say we see it a lot in training applications, and so people saying, "Hey, I'd like to learn more about." If you're trying to preview something, I know you talk about a great place for this to be used. Think about real estate. Doing a walkthrough of a home, and it's a dynamic walkthrough. You're able to kind of step through and look around and really experience, the space that you're stepping into. One of the neat little pieces of software we saw this last year is a company called Steam. It's $10 for the software. It'll actually allow you to run heads-up display your desktop. We talked earlier about that monitor, that expensive big monitor. You could actually do your monitor inside this display. So think about that in the morning. You come in, strap on your goggles, mouse in hand, you're ready to get to work. The only caveat I'll tell you there, it's great because you can create those Mondo spreadsheets and look at all your content, but you can't see your hands.
Yeah.
So if you're not a really good typist, it may not be just for you yet.
Okay.
I love the scenario about the home. We sold our home in January of this year, and we had a drone. We did a drone flyby on the outside above it, showing the neighborhood, things like that. Can you imagine what you can do with this 360-degree device? A full walk through the home, left, right, the closets, the cabinets, upstairs, downstairs. Think about how powerful that is, especially in the real estate industry.
Yeah. So I think what we're going to see is some interesting new use cases, things we haven't even imagined just yet, going to continue to evolve, some neat new stuff coming. But really, the business applications are going to be there as well. All right. Sound sport free. I'm a runner. So I like to get out there and do my morning workout. And most all the phones today, you're going to be better off without a tethered connection. So you're going to be looking for that Bluetooth. And for a lot of anyone who does any kind of sports, and I don't care what kind of sports, you're going to need something that's water resistant, if not waterproof. And in the case of Bose, they just make
hands down the
wonderful
absolute
products.
best. And you got to do Bluetooth, whether you're
Yeah.
old school, big like this, or the sound sport free.
100% agree. I would tell you the Bluetooth connectivity is enormously convenient, but the sound quality is amazing.
Right.
And that's
Also-
what Bose is known for.
Also, you talk about, Gail, from a business perspective, we are Skype for business throughout our entire organization. So we're doing Skype video. All our phone systems throughout all our 1,300 people, they're all on Skype. And we encourage them, utilize Bluetooth devices. This device on a Skype, using Skype in the office, Skype for business, absolutely is flawless. Background noise is gone.
Let me ask you a
It works
question on
extremely
Skype.
well.
We just standardized on Zoom within our firm. Do you
Microsoft. You gotta be on Microsoft, David.
encourage
Come
or
on.
require folks to have their cameras on when you interface with them?
We do not require it. It depends on the signal. If they have a strong signal, I would encourage it.
Got it.
I like to see the person I'm.
You're a good-looking guy, though. so
No,
I can-
but
I
I'd
can
like to
appreciate
see the
that.
person I'm speaking with. I'd like to have that dialogue. I'd like to be able to see them. So I do encourage it. We do most of our meetings with the video cameras on.
We do now too as well.
Yeah.
So thank you for sharing that. I
Yep.
think it's the way to go.
It is.
And you think about one of the challenges, so many people, especially those remote workers, they feel potentially a little bit disconnected from the team.
Sure they do.
Camera helps, bring some of that back in.
It really does.
Close some of that distance.
And then roping it back, to these Bluetooth devices, they are the devices of all the things we talk about outside the laptops, the tablets, the phones, real true business sense on those devices.
Yep.
And you can take them home too.
Excellent. Nice. All right, we'll do another quick break. We have a quick commercial break, and then we'll be back with your third CPE code for this session, so don't go away.
Before Receipt Bank, there was no source document, right? The source document was, here's the bank statement, and that's it. Getting Receipt Bank, getting a full version of Receipt Bank gave me the opportunity to give a client an application that they could easily save source documents, and I could upload them directly into their accounting software.
I love that I don't have to ask as many questions to clients. We're 100% remote. So if I'm picking up the phone, if I'm sending emails and, you know, on like that kind of stuff, that's really low value. So we're eliminating all of those low value questions so we can get to what are the high value things. If we're gonna talk to clients, let's talk to them about stuff they care about, not did they give us their Starbucks receipt.
Well, the clients try to say they can't use technology, and we hammer them on that immediately. It's easy, but it makes their world so much better because number one, we're not calling them and asking them, what did you buy at Staples? What did you buy at Home Depot? What did you buy here? We need to help our clients be in compliance. And one way to do it is with Receipt Bank because we can see the receipts that they're spending and we don't have to wait to ask them questions. They're away on a trip. We don't want to wait till they come back and then bombard us with all this stuff. We want to be able to handle it as we're going.
I'm able to really invest back into my team, which I think is really providing more dividends for me. Sometimes they're stay-at-home moms and they haven't been trained, and so being able to bring them into a starting point in Receipt Bank has allowed me to help them learn the other side of the business as well. But it's allowed me to grow the business. It is one less thing that I have to worry about. I tell everybody automate and integrate, and Receipt Bank does both of those, so it's a win.
Welcome back. You should see the third CPE code on the bottom of your screen. That's the third code for this session. You'll need all three of the codes we gave you in order to get CPE credit for this session. Before we get back into some gadgets, I'll talk about the poll results from the poll we ran on asking you what your favorite gadget was. And we got a lot of Samsung Galaxies as favorite gadget.
Good.
We got, let's see.
So that's your international audience that's giving that response. Gail.
Exactly, I think so. We got some Fitbits, Pixel 3 XL, excuse me. Let's see, we have Surface Pro, Xbox One.
Nice.
Let's see, Roomba.
Oh, love our Roomba.
Yeah, okay. Let's see, what else do we have? Apple AirPods.
Okay.
And let's see.
Hey, let's take 2 seconds and talk about the watch,
okay,
or
let's
just the
do that.
wearables
Let's jump
for a
over to
second.
that.
Because
Yeah.
I
The
know,
wearables and the watch. I love my watch,
I know,
except when it dies.
Jim's sporting his, I'm sporting mine, and I would tell you the wearables has been an interesting space to watch because I think we were originally very excited about it. Pebble. You know, was one of the early, vendors in the space, and they had some snazzy products, some fun, some innovative products, but they went bankrupt. They went out of business. Fitbit bought them, but not all of them, just their IP, and so it didn't work out really well for most of the Pebble employees. Most of them were moving on, as it were. But I got to meet the original team at Pebble. Really thought they were just bright guys. In some respects, just were never able to get it to critical mass. The number one smart watch today is the Apple Watch, and it's not an iWatch, by the way. It is just Apple Watch, and so but just like the iPad and the XS and XS Max, the brand new, beautiful Apple Watch 4. Not cheap. I mean, not at all. I mean, it is but they've sold millions and millions of watches. So by far and away, the number one wearable vendor in the marketplace today is Apple.
Oh, it definitely is. The Apple Watch, I mean, I remember I used to run with my Fitbit, and then I'd take my Fitbit off, put my watch on. Now I run with my Apple Watch,
I'm
right?
right there with you.
Everything on my watch now, I'm able to communicate and connect up with almost everything on my iPhone.
Yep.
So it's pretty nice. Being able to check in at the airport with my watch when it works is awesome.
Yep.
Cool.
No, I think
Yep.
there are some just really convenient uses for the watch. Pay your bill. So in other
True.
words, a credit card. That's using it for that as well. So some great use cases, some great applications.
Yeah, or
there.
if you don't want to be as obvious with your phone, you're putting your phone away, you're having dinner. You get your messages on the watch
Although
now.
my wife is not as quite as excited about it because she says,
My wife is
you're,
not either,
you're driving along and you go
Right.
ding, and she goes, I don't think that's a good thing for you to wear while you're driving. I'm going, yeah, it's a little Pavlovian dog, like it dings and my head turns around. Well, let's kind of talk about just a few other kind of products that have seen some updates this year that are, I think, super helpful, super useful. Tile is one of them. Think of it as just a little beacon that you can use to track, so if you are particularly susceptible to misplacing car keys or anything else, the Tile is perfect for that. I would tell you they've really kind of come a long way, and they're building Tile technology now into a lot of devices. So you don't even need the actual Tile unit. They're building it into a number of devices, but they did refresh their lineup too, and now you can even get on a subscription plan with them. So they will send you the replacement batteries on the interval that you'll need to go ahead and keep the device fresh and operational. But the neat thing about Tile too is you can locate your keys from your phone.
So you put the little tag on your keychain.
Correct, on your keychain. But you can also locate your phone with your keys. So it goes both ways. And so it's a fun approach. But it's again really good technology and not expensive. Starting at $15 or $20.
$15.
Yeah, it's
right?
just as affordable
Can you
as
put
could
that
be.
on your dog tag?
Sure,
Your
absolutely.
dog's
Yeah,
collar?
yeah.
Anything that you could lose.
Away-
Gail, if you're going to lose your dog, then
A
absolutely
wayward
put the
spouse.
tag on the
I'm
dog.
just saying. So yeah. So no, it's great for that. We think that's just really really cool technology. If you travel a lot, and I know the three of us absolutely do. We've all experienced those. Kind of I'll call the best pillows you can get for travel today look like those crescent moons, but really those go flat over time. They don't support your neck really well, especially on a long flight. Not really good. So there's a company called Bullbird out there. This is actually the second version of this product now coming out, and so it's got two different angles. You can flip the device one way or the other to get the two different angles. Comes in a little carrying case, so it's smaller. It won't break down over time. Not terribly expensive. If you're looking for a good gift idea for somebody on your list who does a lot of business travel or whatnot, I would tell you that the travel pillow is absolutely terrific. Really
Comes
like
in
that.
real handy on those economy seats, doesn't it?
It does,
Right.
yes, and not that those aren't fun all in and
Right.
of themselves. You
So
sit
if you
down
don't
and go,
get the upgrade, David, it's nice to have a
how
Bullbird.
many hours
That's right.
am I sitting here?
That's right.
Yeah, so that's the so the Bullbird travel pillow is a good one. So you talked about drones before, and I had to go ahead and include this or pick this one up. I would tell you, I didn't buy this, but I got one as a gift, and I had no idea how much fun I would have with this unit. So the Mavic Pro, and this is the Mavic Pro 2 in the picture, but the Mavic is an incredible camera, and you realize learning how to fly it is just step one. It's all the great photography that you can take with it that really starts to be the really fun aspect of working with this device. So they just upgraded the optics on here. You can do 4K video on here now, 4K resolution photography. And we particularly like, too, that the software is so amazing, always being updated. I live in Southern California, as I mentioned before, and so we had the wildfires just a few weeks ago right around us. And so a good friend of mine has the exact same unit. He said, hey, Dave, if you tried to use your drone? I said, I've been kind of busy. I haven't been messing with my drone in the last few days. He said, it won't even take off. I said, what do you mean? He said, the software is aware that there's all sorts of fire equipment flying overhead, so the air tankers and the helicopters, and you can't even, so the software is attuned to even environmentally what's going on. So near an airport, in disaster zones, in our case with the wildfires, and so it's responsible. Even in your use of the product. Love the stuff that comes out of here. I bring it on almost all the trips I go on now. The photography is just a blast.
You bring the drone with you everywhere you go?
Not everywhere,
Okay.
but a lot of trips, let's just say.
So you got to talk about, sort of embarrassed to talk about this. So you talked about step one, right? Moving from step one to step two. I also had a drone, and step one, I got it all set up, things looking great. Get the controller, set the controller up. I decided to test it inside my house.
Goodness.
Okay? We have these very tall vaulted ceilings in our house.
Or so you thought.
So I thought. So I literally took the controller and ready to go and started it up, and the drone literally went straight up, smashed against my ceiling, and came down, smashed on the floor. That was my 30 seconds of fame with our drone. So
that was a quick transaction.
I should have read the instructions probably a little bit more closely.
No, I will tell you, you want to be a responsible flyer, and it's a little nerve-wracking. But the neat thing I got in 2018, like I said, a good friend of mine also has the exact same unit. He said, you've got extra batteries. He said, I've got my eye on the goggles. So remember what we were talking about, just the Lenovo Mirage just a few minutes ago? We have the goggles that match and pair with this unit. So now what I'll do is I'll take friends out and we'll go flying. And, you know, one of us is the pilot, the other one's the passenger. So they put on the goggles.
That's awesome.
And every time they do, they said, I think I'm going to need to sit down, because you don't want to, you know, fall over as you're kind of going through. But yeah, they are able to, with the movement of their head, they can move the camera so they can look up and down and around, and it's controlling the gimbal on the unit. So it's really a ton of fun. Again, I never knew I was going to fall in love with drones until somebody gave me one.
That's awesome.
Now, what kind of licensing do you need to fly that?
So it used to be you had to get a hobby license through the FAA. That's no longer a requirement.
Okay.
So that changed in this last year too. So that's no longer something you need to do.
Cool.
Yeah. All right. Are you ready for my ultimate gadget?
I want to see your ultimate gadget.
Oh, you know, and every year people say, hey, you know, what's on your list? I mean, what's your ultimate gadget? You know, what's the most fun for you this year? And I got to tell you, this one item, nothing has probably, I haven't enjoyed anything as much as this device in a heck of a long time. So this is, and I talked about these devices years ago, and I said, it's coming. I'm looking forward to it. When it gets here, it's going to be awesome. And I will tell you, it is absolutely awesome. And so in my particular case, go ahead and advance the slide there. It's the Tesla Model 3. And so I do need to tell you, it was a long journey. I put a deposit down 26 months prior to when I finally got the message saying, you know, we're ready for you to go ahead and configure the unit. And that's what the interior looks like. But the best way to describe it is it's kind of like a tablet computer with 4 wheels, because you'll notice there's really no other dashboard. It's just a big tablet in the center console, and everything, and I mean everything you do in the car, runs from that console.
Put him inside a tablet, and that's it.
Right. I think there's movies that have already been done just like that. But the other thing I've realized too, that with this car, as fun as it is to drive, I got the long range version. I can go 310 miles on a charge, 0 to 60 in 4.5 seconds. I don't try not to say a whole lot of that with my wife within earshot kind of thing. But I will tell you, it's the ecosystem too. They've got superchargers, over 12,000 superchargers across the United States. And so you can even take it on long trips and not worry about running out of power. So I would tell you, it'll go anywhere, and it's a blast getting there. So that's my ultimate gadget for 2018.
Excellent. All right, well, that took us right to the end of the session. So thank you so much, both of you. I hope all of you got a lot of really good ideas and have been building your wish lists. And we will be back at the top of the hour with a session on taking advantage of the 2018 Tax Reform Act. So we are looking forward to that. So we'll see you back at the top of the hour.